Most people search for homes in San Francisco all the wrong way, but I'm gonna show you where you can find your perfect neighborhood. The smartest buyers are gonna think about their priorities first. Do you value walkability or sunshine? That's gonna cost you about 20%. Do you need a detached house? There's actually very few neighborhoods in San Francisco that have those. Do you work in the South Bay or do you work downtown? Many of our buyers actually work in both South Bay and downtown. Today, we're gonna do something that has never been done before in San Francisco real estate. I'm gonna show you all 10 realtor districts, which includes all 89 neighborhoods, but most importantly, I'm gonna show you how to think about choosing the neighborhood that's best for you. We're gonna look at what truly matters, your budget, your lifestyle, your commute, and also the type of home that you want. So grab a notebook, bookmark this video, or just sit back and relax, and I'm gonna do all the legwork for you. We also have this awesome neighborhood guide. You can download it right here. And I'm Ruth Krishnan, founder of the Krishnan team. We're back here with videos like this one every Monday at 5 p.m. So before we dive into the districts, let's talk about how to actually choose a neighborhood in San Francisco. So I'm gonna start first with your budget because I think this really sets your reality. Let's face it, all of us don't have an unlimited budget. Your most expensive neighborhoods are gonna be right on the north side of San Francisco. So Pacific Heights, Cow Hollow, Marina, Pacific Heights, and Presidio Heights being the most expensive. And then as you work your way west, things go down a little bit more. So Lake Street and Sea Cliff are still expensive. Actually, Sea Cliff especially because you're right on the ocean and there's really, really big homes there. But Lake Street is going to be less expensive than Presidio Heights. And then generally, as you work your way west, what happens is that the weather doesn't, cooperate as well. So it gets a little bit foggier. And sometimes the house sizes also go down in size, which makes them less expensive, but the price per square foot is often going down as you're working your way west. Now, when you're over here on this side, which is also still north, the inventory changes quite a bit. There's not a lot of single family homes over here. So in general, if you're looking at a single family home in Russian Hill, it's actually quite expensive and there's just not a lot of them. And then I would say the next thing for budget is as you work your way down. So just going back here for a second. So like in Pacific Heights, I think the median price point is something like $6.5 million. In Presidio Heights, it's closer to $8 or $9 million. But as you go over to Lake Street, it's more like $4 or $5 million. And as you come down into Richmond and Central Richmond, you can get a really good house here for $2 or $3 million. And we're talking about larger homes. You can also get a house for less, but we're talking about, 3,000 square foot homes. In these neighborhoods, there are smaller homes too, so you can get stuff for 1.5, 2 million, 2.5, and then it goes less as you go west. So in the center line here, this is also going to be more expensive than the west and the east for the most part. And one of the reasons why is because of weather, but we'll get to that in just a second. So as you work your way down, things are getting a little bit less expensive. Lower Pac Heights is less expensive than Pacific Heights proper. And then you have a lot of these little neighborhoods here in District 6. Not as many large single family homes here. This is more like condo land here. And then as you come down to still want weather, but want a single family home for going from most expensive to least expensive, not quite to the least expensive, but going from most expensive and going down, you have this District 5 area. So in here, you can get a single family home for, honestly, you can get a smaller one for as low as like 2.2, something like that. But a good budget for this District 5 area for, a 3-bedroom home is going to be more like $3 million. And as you start to go up and go nicer, it can get into the 5s, 6s, and 7s very easily. because you have, right now we're just sticking to price. I'm going to get to the other things here in a minute. And then as you go over here into District 4, things get a little bit less expensive, going in this direction, now heading west again, right? But if we head back over here, again, you are less expensive than the central part, over in the condo section for sure. This is condo land again over here. And in the single family home land, which is going to be Mission, Potrero in District 9, and Dogpatch and Bernal. I would say in terms of rating for expensiveness, you have Potrero Hill being the most expensive, followed by Bernal Heights, and then the Mission. Now, as you head over into this direction in District 4, what you start to lose here is you start to lose the weather and the walkability. And I mentioned that you're going to pay a lot for weather and walkability, right? So here it starts to get foggy and continues to get foggier as you go more west. As you go south here, you are still foggy. Over in here, yeah, still foggy. We actually have a map on our website that does like weather, but in general, your best weather is going to be kind of in the central part of the city. So when we talk about things, that people are looking, well, hold on, there's a reason why this has never been done before. It's actually quite complicated to figure out how to group all of these 89 neighborhoods and talk about all of them at once. But I feel like the map is hard to get your head around. And a lot of times things, when you're searching online, they are grouped by the realtor map. So I just wanted to kind of explain it. And even if you're not looking at a realtor map, it's just in general, it's like, how do I make sense of these 89 neighborhoods? So as you head over here into District 2, your weather does go down, and then your price points here are going to be more like that 2 to 3 as you're in the inner Sunset and this area. And then as you start to go over here, they get less expensive as the weather gets less sunny. Now, your least expensive part of San Francisco is this section. Actually, it's District 10 and District 3 are going to be your least expensive parts of San Francisco. And in both of these sections of town, you can get a house for under $2 million, in some case in the low $1 millions. And most of these are single family homes as opposed to condos. So that gives you an idea of how the prices break down at a very, very high level. Obviously, if this is already feeling like too much, just turn me off and send me an email, and we'll get you set up on a call, and we'll go over this with you in detail with your specific needs, because I think that makes the difference and narrows down our conversation here. But the next thing that's really, really important to people is walkability and sun. And you get those two things mostly in the same neighborhoods. So, and it kind of follows the price a little bit as well. So up here, you have some really great walkable streets. So if we go into, so popping over here to just show you a walkable street. This is one of our best walkable streets. This is Chestnut. This is in the Marina. And so you can see, you have a Marine Layer, you have a Herman Miller. There's a ton of cute shops, not just restaurants, but a lot of really great shopping as well. Lots of little boutiques, pretty much anything that your heart could ask for in terms of really great places to eat, really great places to hang out. You can see it's very cute. Now, if you're walking around down here, I will tell you there's a little dress code. You have to wear workout like yoga pants and a yoga bra. I think that is the Marina dress code. So if you are not doing that, you might feel a little out of place. No, I'm just kidding, sort of. I had a client who bought a house there from out of town, and I was joking that I needed to buy her the marina dress code. So moving back out of this map, back into here. So that's the marina. And then that is accessible also to Cow Hollow. So walkable neighborhoods, that's going to be one of the best ones. Pacific Heights has Fillmore Street, which looks very similar. I would say it is Chestnut, Union, Fillmore Street. Those are definitely some of the best walkable streets in the entire city. And it's also some of the most expensive real estate in the entire city. So just to give you kind of a look around of some of what these streets have to offer. You have, again, on Fillmore Street, I think the difference between Fillmore and Chestnut and Union and some of the other walkable streets is not only do they have really great restaurants, but they also have some really good boutique shopping and just like knick-knack shopping and makeup shopping and just kind of anything that your heart could desire. So walking, it's a really high quality of life to be able to walk out your door and then just walk down to the restaurant scene and grab a taco or grab a drink with your friends or grab a super nice dinner with your friends, like kind of anything that you would want, you can find on these streets. So just zooming out of here into map view so you can see where you're at, Fillmore Street is here. And then if you just zoom out a little bit, you've got Pacific Heights here. So coming back to your walkable, so this area is really walkable. North Beach as well has a super cool walkable scene. Russian Hill has a cute little walkable street. It's definitely not as big as Pacific Heights, but when you're in North Beach, it's a very cool Italian vibe. That's where kind of our little Italy is in the city. And then, so those are great walkable areas. North Beach, though, very, very few single family homes. Other walkable areas are going to be, Presidio Heights has a street called Sacramento. So for Presidio Heights, if we want to walk around to their walkable street, you have Sacramento Street. On Sacramento Street, this is a great section of San Francisco. They have a ton of interior design shops. There's some great restaurants. Spruce Restaurant is down here. There's a great coffee shop called As Quoted. There's Sorrel is down here, which is a fantastic restaurant. So you have a great walkable street also on Sacramento. Tons and tons of interior designers. And that's going to be where you have mostly very, very expensive, like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all the way up to $30 million homes, even above that sometimes. So if that's not in your budget, kind of circling back over to other walkable areas. Okay, so dropping into the Richmond, this is Clement Street, and you're in the lower avenues here. On Clement, the lower the avenues you're in the Richmond, the more expensive it is as you start heading west, things get less expensive. Things also get less happening sometimes as you add west, as you go west, but there are a lot of little pockets in different neighborhoods as well, and we can help you find those little pockets as you're trying to get into certain different budgets and that sort of thing. But as you can see, the street looks very different than, say, Chestnut or Fillmore Street, but I think there's a ton of personality down here. There's a lot of really, really good food, like all different kinds of ethnic food, American food, like pretty much anything that your heart could desire, you can find down here. And then so we've covered the north. As you head into this area, like all of the central part I mentioned, you have sun and you have views. So you have very, very good walkability in these sections. Like you have Hayes Valley, Nopa, Divisadero has a really, really great street. Hayes Valley, you have Hayes that has a really, really great street that's walkable. And then DuBose Triangle, you're right next to the Castro or Eureka Valley. That 18th Street corridor has a really, really nice section. As you head down into Noe Valley, you have 24th Street. I'll show you that. So over in Noe, you can see it's a very large area, but the walkable section is going to be on 24th. So again, this is super cute, very, very quaint, smaller than some of the other walkable streets. But a lot of times, you don't have as good of shopping down here. There's a few like kid shops. There's a bookstore. There's a Whole Foods, which is really nice right on the street. You've got, a beauty store. So there's a great like little fish shop. There's a La Boulangerie. So there's kind of a little something for everybody over here on 24th Street, and it feels like a very, very quaint village. And then other walkable neighborhoods, I mean, obviously, if you're downtown, there's a lot to do downtown, and in terms of like, I think a lot of people like to walk to work. So some good places to be able to walk to work is going to be like North Beach or downtown or south of Market. Inner Richmond has a great walkable street around 24th and Folsom. So that's a great one. Potrero has like a smaller, Intermission isn't just that 24th Street corridor. They have Valencia, which is very cool. And there's tons of really, really great restaurants spread out throughout the Mission. Potrero Hill has a little small walkable corridor that's cute. It is one of the smaller walkable ones, I'd say similar to West Portal, and you're still getting good weather and walkability here. And then Bernal Heights has its own little walkable street, Cortland, which is very, very cute. And then as you start to keep heading down here, you start to kind of lose the walkability and you lose the sun at the same time. Now, a couple of exceptions. Inner Sunset, I think, has a phenomenal walkable street on like 7th Irving area. Really good restaurants, some shopping, a good mix, and not as good of weather, but it's, I'd say, one of the few neighborhoods like Inner Richmond where you get walkability, but you don't get weather. So remember, you pay a little bit, kind of a lot for each. And then the more you start to head out here, now there are some pockets out in these areas where there's some walkability and some things built out, especially as you get into the outer Sunset and the outer Richmond, but they're definitely not those big stretches. And then West Portal, which is here, that I feel like is having kind of a new birth over there. There's a bunch of great new restaurants that have gone over there. Little Joe's, Elena's, like there's a lot going into West Portal. Also, you lose the sun over there. So when I'm talking about things that people are really valuing, and as they're looking at their search, a lot of times they're saying, I want walkability or I want sun. So if that is you, then I'm trying to explain to you like where you get each one. As you head down here into District 10, you get really pretty good sun down here, but the walkability is lacking. I mean, there's a section. So you have Mission Terrace here. There's a section on Mission Street here that's somewhat walkable. That, depending on where you are in the neighborhood, It definitely doesn't look like, it's not built out in the way and is fancy and is she looking as some of the other streets that we've looked at, but there's some good restaurants and stuff like that out there. There's pretty good weather out here. And as you get into Portola, has really great views. We're going to get to views in a minute. And then down here in this section, not a ton of walkability, but you do have ocean that runs down here, which is going to run kind of by like on the edge of Ingleside. So you get accessibility to ocean, which has some stuff on it. I'd say it's probably better than this Mission stretch, but not maybe as good as, say, your West Portal stretch, for example. But there's a lot kind of going in. I feel like it's come up in the last few years. Maybe 5 years-ish. And then you have Stonestown, and Stonestown has really been happening lately. So we went through price, roughly. We went through walkability, and we hit on sun. The next thing that people are often thinking about is views. There's some obvious places for views, right? There's if you're right on the edge of the ocean, if you're in the marina, you're getting views. If you're in Seacliff, you're getting views. So it's obvious if something is surrounding the water that you're getting views, but where do you get views that isn't as obvious? And not all views are the same. So let's go back to the map and I'll talk you through that a little bit. Obviously, great views from this section of town, the north section of town, kind of all here, like Russian Hill, Nob Hill, North Beach, all of these areas that are touching the water, you're going to get great views. Not from every single property. I mean, something to keep in mind when you're looking in these areas is the streets that run east to west are going to have the views versus north to south, which maybe or maybe isn't obvious. And then if you're on the north side of the street, you're going to have better views typically than if you're on the south side of the street. Lake Street is very, very flat, so not a lot of views there. Presidio Heights does have some views depending on the street. I wouldn't say they're as big of views as you'll get on some of the big hillside sections of Pacific Heights. Inner Richmond, not so much. All of these areas are very, very flat. Seacliff, amazing views. Okay, so those are kind of the obvious ones. You can get, downtown in these high-rise towers, you can get some of the best views in the city. Potrero Hill too, because it's just like massively on a hill. A lot of the houses in Potrero have like stunning views. Intermission, not so much. So there's a stretch here. This section here is Liberty Hill. And so as you're on Liberty, even like 21st, Sanchez area here, you're going to get really stunning views. And the views here, I'll just show you the street so you have an idea. You can't see the views from Google Maps, but, really cute street, and it's built up high. So you do get city views from here inside of the homes. And the nice thing about this area, this area that's very unusual is that you get north side facing city views, and then you get south side hill views a lot of times as well from like this little section of Liberty, 21st, top of Sanchez Hill, but Hill is very hilly, especially this section here. As you go down a little, this is flat here. So that's an area where you can get both city and hill views, which is a bit unusual to be like kind of on the top of the hill and not have anything on either side of you and be able to see both sides. So some of I think the best views of the city are Clarendon Heights. Let me take you over there. Okay, so I'm going to just show you. This is a house that's on the market right now. It's on the market with Laura Rogers and John Farnham. And I toured this with a client the other day. And the views, I honestly don't know that the photos do it justice. Sometimes with these views, you have to be in them in person. But the views from Clarendon Heights, they are the best views in the city. You get like 180 views up there. Man, I was hoping They are just absolutely stunning. This is a great house. It needs some work, but I don't feel like you can really see it in the way that you can see it when you're inside. Because you have the city in the background, you have the whole bay at your feet. It feels like it's just jaw-dropping up there. So I personally think that's some of the best views in the city, but you're in fog land, right? You're right next to Twin Peaks. Now you are on the other side of the hill, but it definitely gets foggy up there, but the views are just absolutely spectacular. And then, that home right now is on the market for, I want to say 4 million, 3750. I think it needs a lot of money put into it in order for most people probably. But there's homes that sell up there for $15-18 million. And then there's homes that you can get for 4 and 5 million. Just depending on how much work that they need. If you don't have that kind of budget, then jumping down into, you can get great views on a budget in Twin Peaks and even a Miraloma, which is over here. You can get some views. I mean, they're not like Clarendon Heights views, but down here you're looking at budgets in the $2.5, even sometimes $1.5 million. As I'm saying this, the market is in the process of moving up, so I can't guarantee you how long these numbers are going to stay good. But Diamond Heights has amazing views, and you can definitely get houses there for the $2, $3, $4 million with really, really great views. Again, weather not so great. Glen Park, there's a stretch in Glen Park called Laidley Street. Laidley Street is here, and there's a stretch there where there are also really, really spectacular views from Laidley. So these houses are all going to have like killer views. And you can see some of the houses, well, they've blocked them out. But there's some really, really modern builds over here as well. I think there's been just a lot of, there's also some really weird houses on this street. I think someone once told me that there's like some sort of exception in planning where you can build unusual things. There's a very eclectic mix of architecture on this street. And, the downside of it is that even though on a map it looks sort of walkable, it's a bit of a hill to get up there. So a lot of times when you're getting views, you are also getting a hill. But this would be a street worth looking at. This huge house here, I've been inside of it. It's under construction. You get views all the way around here. It's pretty amazing. I think this is like a $20-25 million house. So it's been on and off the market as a project. So a house on Laidley Street, you're looking, for one of those big houses there, you're looking at 4, 5, 6 million, sometimes 6.5, 7. But they're huge. They're like 4,000 square feet houses, massive views from every level. But if you don't have that much money and you still want a great view, another secret neighborhood that I will tell you about. So this neighborhood, Golden Gate Heights right here. And you guys, this is a website that I created just for YouTube people. And so if you click on all of these, it takes you to all the videos that we've created by neighborhood. So it's pretty cool. But anyway, back to Golden Gate Heights. Let me show you what that neighborhood looks like. So Golden Gate Heights, it sits on top of the Inner Sunset. And when I say on top, I mean on top. Because you have to walk up some hills, which again, right? Like, how do you get views without walking up hills? And there are these kind of like little like streets that do these turns and roundabouts and stuff up there. But you can get a home up there for, $2.5, 3. I mean, there's been some $4 million ones, but there's a lot of good price points up here. You do have less good weather up here than in some other view parts of the city. But it's kind of interesting that when you back up, it doesn't look like this would be a neighborhood where you would get a lot of views. but you do get some really, really nice city and park views. I have a client right now actually want a very specific view. You get the park, you get the water, you get some hillside, you get some houses. It's a very, very pretty view. And it's surprising, right? Because when you look at the map, it doesn't seem like there would be views there. There are some kind of hills out here where you get a little bit of like ocean views as you go out here. Even in some streets of St. Francis Wood, you get some views. There's actually, like, I think I mentioned this earlier, but in Portola, there's some really great views. And in Bayview, there's some really great views. I think Bayview has the least expensive housing in all of San Francisco. And Portola is not that far behind it. Some good views from there. And then, of course, on the ocean here, the closer you get to the ocean, the problem is there's more hills in Outer Richmond. So I think there's more likelihood of getting views in Outer Richmond without being right on the ocean than in Outer Sunset or Outer Parkside, because these areas are very flat. So you have to get very close to get views. The Great Highway has amazing views as well. And I have some surfer clients that they will only buy homes on the Great Highway. So that's definitely, there's a niche client just for that. And in fact, one of the homes that I sold over there, the person who owned it lived in Marin, and they used the home as a shower. Basically, they bought the home so they could come down from Marin and surf and then shower and then go to work. I don't think they ever stayed there, which is a very interesting place that we live in. Okay, so now that we've covered views, and we've covered walkability and we've covered sun, another thing that's really important is transit. So let's take a look at that. In San Francisco, I feel like we have people working in really 3 different places: at home, less and less, but a lot of times people are doing partial at home work. They work downtown or they work in the South Bay. Those are the majority of the buyers that we're working with. So if you work downtown, you can honestly, I mean, we do have people who come in and they say, like, I need to be a 20-minute commute on public transit. Most people who are going downtown do not drive. It sucks driving down there, I think. But you can be almost anywhere in the city and get downtown fairly easily. There is a few little misleading things and a few things to know, a few pro tips for you. Some areas like West Portal that look really far, there is an underground train from West Portal, so you could probably get to downtown from West Portal faster than you can get from some of these areas that look closer, that don't have that underground muni going. And then some of these areas, like up here, I mean, there's in a lot of the areas, but you have express buses that have fewer stops. So those are going to get downtown faster. And then I would say the cutoff line for a lot of people who work in the South Bay, and we have tons of clients that work in both the South Bay and downtown, right? Like, you sometimes need to be in the South Bay because Google has an office down there, but Google also has an office downtown. So you do both. And there's a lot of companies structured that way. And I'd say the cutoff line is here, because getting all the way from, say, the marina out of the city in the morning and the evening, like, it's hell. Crossing the city can take 45 minutes to an hour from north to south. So we do have a lot of people who want to be kind of in, I'd say, the mid-south to east section of the city, because there's another freeway here. 280 runs here. And so easy to get out from kind of this whole section. As you get buried in here, you have to deal with 19th Avenue, which sucks. And if you're all the way up here and have to cross the park and then go through 19th Avenue, also not ideal. North Beach, depending on how much of a walker you are, is a cool neighborhood that has more early 1900s Victorians, things like that, things with a little bit, like, some people call more character or more personality. And so that section you could still be very, very close to the office downtown and feel like you're in more like old school San Francisco. And same thing with Nob Hill and Russian Hill. Now, obviously, if there's a hill in the name of the neighborhood, it has hills typically. So walking may be hilly. And so you may get your workout walking to work, depending on where you are in that section of town. And then I did do a video that would dovetail here really nicely on what neighborhoods would you live in if you worked at OpenAI in Mission Bay, which kind of would be similar because we just focused on areas that had like 15 to 20 minute commutes or less. And so that might be a good one for you to check out if you're interested in diving into that subject a little bit more. And then, so a lot of these neighborhoods are really great for commute, and happy to dive into them with you more. Another thing that people talk a lot about is wanting to be near parks. And, there are 270 parks in San Francisco. So there's a lot of parks. You can see the obvious big ones on the map. I think, Maddie on my team, she lives in the marina and she is a big workout gal and, she loves to be like down on the beach, but then she'll run all the way through the Presidio and down Mountain Pine Park on the backside of Lake Street and then down into the ocean on this side. And so like down through Land's End and stuff like that. So, that's pretty cool. So this north section, I would say, if you want to be near the biggest parks, is definitely awesome. Like if you're in the Richmond, you have access to the Presidio and all of the beaches up here, but you also have access to Golden Gate Park. And then as you go down on the south side of the park, you have closer access to Golden Gate Park. And then, obviously the Great Highway has a park now. So the beach there. But there are like a lot of other parks, like it doesn't show on here, but John McLaren Park is down here around Excelsior. And that is a huge park. I think it's almost as big as Golden Gate Park, and like tons of hiking trails, all kinds of things going on there. And then, I think people want parks for different things. Like if you want the workout park, then it's the big parks. But if you want a park to take your children to with a swing set, those are everywhere. Like every neighborhood has parks like that, which is pretty awesome. So that's the parks. And then another thing that people are looking for is, a kind of house. So either they want a ranch style home or they want a detached home. If you're looking for a detached home, it is most commonly going to be found outside of San Francisco, but there are a lot of neighborhoods that have it. Not a lot, but there are some, but most of them are not in the center part of the city. So you do have some detached homes in Seacliff, which is a more expensive neighborhood at, $4 all the way up to like $30 million if you're on the cliff. But if you go out to even St. Francis Wood, those are still expensive homes, like $3.5 to $6 million. Those are all detached with big yards, but really this whole area in District 4, with St. Francis Wood being the most expensive out here, has detached, varying levels of detached homes. You don't have great weather out here, but you do get more yard space, bigger lots, more detached homes. And then also in District 3 here, there's a lot of detached homes. And these range anywhere between like 1.5 all the way up to, sometimes for something that was just built, really large, about 3 million. That's the very, very high end of what you would find out here. And then there are detached homes all over District 10, which is again going to be about that like 1.3 all the way up to like $2.5 million, but most commonly probably in the closer to $1.7-2 million range, depending on where you're at and how big it is. Over here in District 10. So there are options. And for ranch style homes, there's really only one neighborhood that has that, and that's going to be Diamond Heights, which is right here. And there's some Eichlers up there that are really cool. And I mentioned earlier that Diamond Heights has really, really great views. So anyway, I took you all the way through the city from the north to the south. As you can see, it's very nuanced. There's a lot to know. And the best way for us to help you is to reach out and have us sit down with you, and we can really just find out what are the things that you want and how can we help steer you to like the secret neighborhoods that have those things, or understanding the block by block situations of what it is that you're looking for. If you want to watch a video about the commute times to downtown, that AI video that I did is right here. And I think that that would really be useful. And if you want to connect, just reach out with any of the ways down below.